Hello, team, and welcome to Eye on the Storm. I am Anna Prosser Robinson. That over there is my co-host Gillyweed, and this is a show where we talk about Heroes of the Storm, learn how to play the game, learn what's going on in the community, and bring on special guests to talk to you. And we are indeed on Misscliks, Gillyweed.
We are on Misscliks. Misscliks is an awesome community dedicated to uplifting females in the geek and gaming scene, just making it a safe and awesome space for all gamers of all types to hang out and be gamers, be who they are. We have a lot of awesome, really awesome shows. I'm a pretty big fan of Minoc Mysteries, which just started recently. Have you been watching those episodes, Anna?
I was watching it just the other night. It is so fun. It's a really good one that you can turn, because I turned it on my TV and was sewing while I was listening.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's been really awesome.
It's a Star Wars role-playing show. So
yeah.
Totally different than this one, which is awesome.
Yeah, this one is, of course, all about Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's Heroes Brawler. We have a guest I'm really excited to introduce. We have Yuujers from Team Blaze, also playing on the Heroes of the Dorm team, Dark Blaze. How's it going, my friend?
It's going pretty good. I'm just been practicing a lot for both Team Blaze and Dark Blaze. We just got to spring break, so I have pretty much the next week off to just get down and really practice in preparation for both ETS and Heroes of the Dorm.
Are you going anywhere, or are you staying there just to knuckle down?
Not really going anywhere. Just staying here, hang out with friends, just knuckle down, get to work. Very busy, really. Just playing HOTS, really.
Well, speaking of playing HOTS, if anyone of our viewers is not too familiar with you or hasn't heard your story, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into pro gaming and kind of your history getting you into where you are now?
So pro gaming, I started out when I first really started, I was more like a League of Legends player. And then, I dabbled in the amateur scene there, played in some of the amateur tournaments. Eventually, Heroes of the Dorm came around last year, and I'd played with a lot of my college friends, so we just decided, hey, let's make a team. We got pretty far, and then after Heroes of the Dorm ended, we continued playing, and then we moved on to create Team Blaze and actually move into the HOTS competitive scene. So we started out from pretty much just we start from the bottom in the collegiate scene, and then moved up from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember casting you guys in the amateur series, and then you guys were winning everything in the amateur series, and we had to give you the boot. We got into the major stuff. How has it been to know that you've progressed and know where you've started, and it was right around a year ago when Dorm was going on, and to see where you are at now? What's that been like?
It's been a very fun experience, really. We grew a lot as players, just understanding what we were actually capable of. Because to start with, I had a pretty good mentor when it came to the game. He originally played, for the one of the first few rosters of Capitals. So he was a good friend of mine from back in the days when we played League of Legends, and then we switched over. He switched over first, and he taught me how to play the game. Actually taught both me and Cladius how to play the game. And we slowly he taught us to get better, then he went off and moved away. But yeah, it was a great learning experience, and we as a team we were able to grow together.
People have kind of seen a lot of Team Blaze lately, and we had really a lot of fun watching you guys, as always. What would you say is kind of the character of your team, if people aren't familiar yet with either your play style or your personalities?
Well, personally, I think our team is more about just having fun with the game and trying to be the best players we can be. Obviously, we want to be the top, but we don't want to completely destroy our personalities or change the way we are just to make it to the top. Obviously, on the way you're going to get some road bumps, you're going to get some speed bumps, and personalities will start to clash when things aren't going your way. The hardest part about being a team is solving problems when you're losing. That's when your team actually comes it's actually the test of an actual team at that point. And so for us, we just try to have fun and be the best we can be.
So speaking of bumps in the road, which I totally agree. I could imagine that when you're having those as the test of how a team can do. But you guys, unfortunately, were playing with a sub at NA Regionals as Jason was super sick. But it was nice that you were still able to bring in DXN, who plays with you on your dorm team. So how did you guys feel about NA Regionals after the experience, or just maybe even how you were feeling during the experience?
So going into regionals, it was really weird. It was really strange because we were playing, and then right before we left, we'd pretty much lost every scrim block. And then once we got there, we realized we didn't have Jason. And so the first day, we were just totally lost. We were trying to figure out what we were gonna do. And then DXN came through. He said, "Hey, I'll fly out. I'm on your roster. Just let me know." And so I think I was on when he flew out was Thursday, I think. Thursday. He got in Thursday night. So we basically, Friday, got there, crunch time, scrim as much as we can. We still lost almost every block. I think we lost every game but our scrim blocks against Team Nom. And so it's pretty interesting because we mostly scrimmed everyone on the other side. And we were trying to work out all our team problems, more or less get them on the same page, rotations, understand what to do, and it didn't really help because it was really loud in the area. We didn't really have comms, and our team is one of those teams that's extremely reliant on comms, in the sense that we out rotate other people by being where we need to be on the right time, and so. It kind of just made it really hard, but towards the end of the day we were able to work out a lot of our kinks, and then going into the group stage we were actually fairly confident ourselves, so we ended up doing fairly well in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say that was accurate. Well, and you guys had these kind of roster woes, and then right after NA Regionals, we saw that you guys actually were making some roster changes. So can you tell me what those changes were and what was behind them?
So the changes were they were being thought about long before we actually went to the event. We just didn't bring it up because with such a big event coming up, there was no reason to start causing internal drama within the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been talking about it between me, Patrick, and Cladius. We just been talking about it off to the side, just because we discuss it. We discuss our feelings about certain players because we know each other. We're as friends. We've known each other for a couple years now. Even before we started playing HOTS. So we just discussed our opinions, and then there were some personality conflicts that. Ultimately they were minor at first, but over time it just started it started getting on our nerves, and it was just one of those things where if you keep trying to force it, at one point someone's gonna get in an argument, and it's gonna be really, really bad.
Yeah.
We wanted to get that over with as soon as possible, and seeing regionals at the end was that was the time to make that choice.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of teams, and I definitely can identify with this myself, that with Heroes of the Storm, it's so important that your team gets along and thinks similarly. So it's sometimes funny to explain to people who maybe are more familiar with traditional sports or things where maybe, of course, good relationships between teammates are always important, but I think in esports it's necessary. You can't have someone on your team that you think differently than or can't stand being around. Would you say that's been the case for you?
It was they were just growing pains. It was okay at first, and then it slowly I think it was getting to the point where people were getting mad during scrims, and then we were it wasn't conducive to us actually getting better at the game. It also didn't help that some of our players had very inconsistent internet, and the performance that we needed during practice would be a little bit different from what we actually wanted to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So it would, you want to practice how you're going to actually play on a tournament, and so that would cause problems sometimes. And that's not necessarily his fault, but it happens.
Yeah, still something you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, and so it was part of it, but it wasn't really like a main reason.
And now you guys have B-Kid and Big Impact joining you. So how has that been so far?
It's actually been great. I think we are all really enjoying playing together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Scrims are actually going really, really well, and we're having a lot of fun while we're at it. And B-Kid's always really fun to be around.
I
love that guy. He's really funny. And
he's talking about his pink earphones.
Yeah, B-Kid is awesome. Yeah, we have had a lot, like pretty good success in scrims so far. We only really started scrimming Monday, but we haven't really lost a game yet. So.
Well, that's good.
That's good. I'm confident that we can do really well in ETS, and we can show that, hey, this was something that it was a good choice to move forward with.
Well, good.
Well, we are really excited to see that roster in action. Now, I think you guys are competing in something this weekend, correct?
Yeah, Enter the Storm group stages. That's the first thing. And then that's just this weekend. Enter the Storm. Heroes of the Dorm is next week. Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of Heroes of the Dorm, that's one of the main things we wanted to make sure to discuss today. And you can see, actually, Gilly is not in her normal habitat. Why is that? Where is she?
I actually I'm very happy that I can say this because it just was announced yesterday, and we were actually told it would not be announced by this point. But I am working on Heroes of the Dorm. That's where I'm at. I know. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's been a blast so far. I left on Friday, and I've been getting to work with the production team, people from Blizzard. We've been working really hard to develop storylines and just make sure that this tournament is amazing. And I think right from the get-go it's going to be. I have really high hopes even for our first show that's going to be this weekend, and that's going to be the bracket reveal. So I'm pumped. I'm having a blast. And I have this really sweet hotel room, this giant couch that I'm streaming from. It's a good time. I'm very happy to be a part of it.
That is awesome. And we don't have a whole lot. Like you said, the bracket reveal show still hasn't happened yet, and we'll talk a little bit more about schedule as we move forward in talking about Heroes of the Dorm, but we don't have a lot of information, and I know you can't share a whole lot, Gilly, about what Heroes of the Dorm is going to look like. So I wanted to spend a couple moments talking about kind of what we remembered and loved about last year.
Yes!
And then see, where we think that might change or where it might stay the same this year. And I'm looking at the Heroes of the Dorm website, and there's actually a video of last year here, which I think I can play without sound. There you go. So we can watch that while we're talking about it. But Gilly, what were some of your favorite memories from last year?
That tournament is like up there with BlizzCon for me, which I know is just crazy to say because I got to cast BlizzCon, which is casting BlizzCon, but Heroes of the Dorm just like brought the community into focus for me in a lot of ways. And like I got to hang out with you, and we shared like this amazing moment at the finals where we were like eating chocolate cake and then got just covered in confetti,
and it became confetti cake.
Yeah. Like we took that confetti cake picture where our cake got covered with it, and like it's silly that that's like some random thing that I remember from it, but it was a really great moment. And I remember just feeling so hyped from Tasteless and Artosis casting, and how amazing that was. The venue was insane. The games were incredibly fun, and that is actually where I met DeFebvre for the first time.
Oh yeah,
that is a huge friendship just in the making, and remembering meeting her for the first time is a very fun memory for me. So that's some of my favorite memories from that event. What about you, Anna?
I mean, I would cite the confetti cake moment as well. I think for me, I had gotten to work quite a bit behind the scenes last year on Heroes of the Dorm, so watching the teams come through the bracket stages and kind of like getting to analyze their play on a deep level as part of my job was something I don't normally get to do, so that was really fun for me on an individual level. But then seeing that kind of come to fruition in that live arena, which really, the place isn't huge. We've had bigger auditoriums and stadiums and things in esports, but the place was very important. It's where they used to hold the Academy Awards, and it has this kind of je ne sais quoi energy. I don't know. And it felt really good to see these very, like, passionate young people that I had watched go through this tournament get to the final round and then approach life-changing money. And I use the phrase life-changing money when I feel like it's different than just like, wow, that's a big prize pool and they got paid really well. This is like, because you competed in this tournament, you will have a college education. That's, to me, that's what was mind-blowing. So seeing, and especially seeing someone like Suppy, who I had, lived with and worked with in the past, kind of come through that, and experiencing that through him, I think the impact of that event on lives, both on our friendships, like you said, it was one of the first Heroes events that we all kind of came to in real life, and then seeing the players' lives be changed in front of our eyes. I think that was my favorite. But
Panda Jigu's grandma.
Yes, the grandma.
Wow.
So cute. I don't know, Yuj, what was the experience like for you? Do you have any fun memories?
Yeah.
So we were just like we were just pretty much learning the game because we just started playing barely before Heroes of the Dorm started. So we actually didn't know too much about the game at that point. So we were learning the game as we went through the group stages. And eventually, we hit the round of 16 and we're just like, we're against ASU. They're one of the favorites to actually win this tournament. And we've played this game like actually played this game for less than, 2 months. We don't really know what we're doing yet. And so we just kind of ran around. And then during the game, I remember thinking this very, very clearly. They're doing this. I think we should do this too. They're doing this work camp. We're going to go do this too. And then we just started mirroring what they were doing. And eventually, we put up a pretty good fight. I'd say we probably put up the best fight in our region, even, since for some reason ASU was a South team that year. Hey, overall, it was a pretty fun experience. We were able to learn, and after the games, Akaface pretty much came up, messaged us, and said, "Hey, you guys are really, really good. If you guys keep playing, you can probably go pro." And we did.
You did.
There you go.
So that's where the whole journey started, huh?
Story.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
And you guys are still really good friends. I see you and Akaface at every event. It's like you guys having your support party. I'm like, yo, I like Brightwing. Can I hang out with you?
Yeah, we all every event we have our support talk where we complain about our carries not understanding what it means to heal, and expecting things out of us that is really, really hard to actually do.
Well, there's a whole lot on the line, and we have, I'm kind of deviating from what we planned to talk about, but I realized we didn't really plan to talk about what's on the line here or the prizing, because it's so important that we kind of forget that we have to say it. But really quick, first of all, anyone who competes at all gets an in-game portrait, which I think is nice, a little participation award. And then we have the tuition for the college career, and that's similar to last year. There's a few more rules around it this year that are a little more specific. The cool part, though, is I think they specifically said, hey, by the way, you can use this for grad school, too, because there was some question on that last year, and I think that's amazing. I know that because like I said, I know Suppy really well. That was his question because he was going on to med school, and that would really help him. And there's some limitations on like how many years that can last, but on a basic level, I think even with those rules, it's very much like we'll take care of you. You'll go to college, basically. So that's very cool. And then if you're not competing because you're out of college too early, like Gilly and I, which just sucks, then you can do the bracket challenge, which is really fun. That's similar to like a fantasy sports league where, well, maybe not. But anyway, esports, you just fill out a bracket of which teams you think will advance from each match, and the closest person who's the most accurate wins $10,000.
Small chump change.
You know, just $10,000.
It's something.
Whatever. But so then also there's a participation award there as well. You can have a player portrait, which is that's nice too. I like my Asmodunk player portrait from last year.
Yeah, do you still rock it sometimes?
Once in a while I pull it out. Yeah. In fact,
we all use it when we're doing a dorm team practice. You know.
Do you?
Just pull out the Asthma portrait. Say, hey, we played last year. You know.
You know what? In fact, I just realized I have 2 Asmodan Heroes of the Dorm portraits from last year that have been sitting on my desk. I'm gonna give them away in chat.
Snaps!
So if you missed out last year, I'm gonna give you one. I'm gonna
Anna with the plays.
Yeah, bing, bing, bing. Actually, thanks to Siobhan from Blizzard PR who gave those to me. So I will, as soon as somebody else is talking, I'm gonna just randomly drop that number in chat, the BattleNet code. So be ready with your copy pasta.
Reflexes.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, to finish out the prizing, there's also an Epic Gaming system that the Heroic Four receive. The Heroic Four is the semifinalists, and they're the ones that are going to be at the live event. So they get the Epic Gaming system, and we'll talk a little bit more about the way the tournament will progress as well. Do you guys have any reactions or thoughts on those prizes, or are you excited about the brackets or anything like that?
I'm mainly really excited when it comes to the Heroic 4 portion, because it's we get computers. Right now, one of our biggest problems is Cladius has a really bad computer.
Really?
That he plays on. So you can see the difference. When we play on LAN, he plays so much better because he's actually not limited by his computer. He plays on 30 FPS on low settings or something in the game.
It's funny because people assume, especially when they're dealing with pro players, that they just have great equipment, that it just kind of falls from the sky. And you forget how it can be really tough to get a hold of equipment like that.
For him, he doesn't have the best equipment. He does have a pretty decent keyboard, and he has a Razer keyboard and mouse, but other than that, it's when it comes to an actual laptop, his is 4 or 5 years old. It's a gaming laptop, but it's still 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
So he does have problems when it comes to when we're actually playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big upgrade for him, so we're actually excited if he actually gets that computer.
Yeah, that would people think of the tuition being really important, and it is, but if you're thinking about taking your pro gaming career into the future, a computer can be just as important, I suppose.
Yeah, and look how many people did that out of dorm last year.
I mean, Michael Udall got it last year, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, we had so many people move on from dorm. I mean, Fan himself won the world championship, and he got really recognized through dorm. So there are so many people who took their careers in dorm and it really got them into playing in the pro level, like you guys. And I'm really excited to see if we're going to have and hopefully we will have more people who kind of use dorm as their way of catapulting themselves into a pro heroes career, get some more players into the scene. I mean, already we've seen a really big increase in the number of teams who have been participating in some of the amateur tournaments, just solely because we have these dorm teams who have been trying to get practice in wherever they possibly can. So I really hope that, it'll light the fire and people will be actually, I kind of just really love playing this game and want to continue having a team and being on a team and practicing when I can. And I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. We've had that's how we got where we are. I know a couple other players who used Heroes of the Dorm. I think Dan Lee for 3. That's where he got in. Same with Crowan. You know, a lot of the players that made top 16, like even though like King Plato and Apollo aren't still around for like the competitive scene, they do Heroes of the Dorm again this year.
Right.
They were around for a while last year in like June, July for the to BlizzCon back then. So a lot of the players like move into the pro scene from there because they really enjoyed it. So it's exciting. I know I've had a couple friends. You know, I think I have friends from Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
They've messaged me about, hey, I might continue playing after, what am I supposed to do to go pro? Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
so.
And you were like, no, I don't want more competition.
I mean, they're friends. I'm gonna help them. Like, I've had a friend approach me recently. You know, like, hey, you know what? Because we were replacing players after the removal of Battery and Rafflecopter. Like, hey, he approached me, like, hey, can I try out? I'm new to the game. Like, you know, we used to play a lot together back in League of Legends or something.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of sent him, you know, on the right path. Like, you know, kind of have to start somewhere. You can't just
Yeah.
go straight to the top. But yeah.
That is the cool thing about our scene, though. We have quite a few amateur places where teams can start out, and even some like cool things like cheerleading where you can kind of do pickup stuff. But
So it's a lot of fun. I like playing in the amateur scene. It was fun for us. It gives us like, when you can't find scrims, it's like, hey, let's just play in this amateur tournament. We're gonna have a lot of practice just playing in it. So, it's fun.
Yeah, you get some practice even with like banning, drafting, all of that you don't quite get at this point with Hero League. But I want to know about you guys' team. You know, it's not all of the members that we've been talking about for Team Blaze. It's you and Cladius, and then we do have DXN, who we saw a little bit of his play at regionals. But let us know about Cure and Mist.
So Cure he's a good friend of ours. We used to play collegiate League of Legends with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was last year, right before Heroes of the Dorm, and then that's when we were on a team together. And you know, he didn't want to play Heroes of the Dorm, and so I think we were a fairly good team in League of Legends too. We made like top 16 in this collegiate in general.
Mm-hmm.
We moved on from the game, and we moved to Heroes of the Dorm. Kier didn't quite make the switch until around, I think, June, and then he played with us for I think in May. Actually, in May he played a couple of qualifiers with played a couple scrims with us. He wasn't even 40 yet, and we were beating certain teams. We were just like, we just brought him onto the roster. We played Road to BlizzCon. We made top 8. And, you know, then he had, you know, because of his religion and, you know, and he had certain obligations that he had to fulfill. So he took a leave of absence and, you know, kind of left HOTS for a while. Heroes of the Dorm came back around, and he's back for that. And he's been actively trying to improve at the game. Mm-hmm. You can see him in Hero League a lot. Like, he's pretty, you know, high up in Hero League as well. So we have a good time playing with him, and so we never had to really build synergy when we play with Kier because it's already kind of there. And then for Mist, I'd figured out, I was just browsing streams on Twitch back then and a while back, and I realized that he went to UT Arlington.
Yeah.
So I kept that tab there. I'm like, I can come back to this later. Like, it's cool. I talk to him every now and then you know, around recently we were trying to fill out that last spot because we already had solidified our roster of DXN, Cladius, me, and Cure. Originally we had 2 other players from last year, which was Azumel and I forgot, MW something. He had like 4 numbers. But they were busy with jobs, so they couldn't actually spend the time to play the game. So we had tryouts. And I asked Mist to try out. He obviously, you know, he had success in the tryout, and so he made the roster. And, you know, he's a fairly good player. He streams a lot, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually gets more viewers than me, actually, I think, every now and then. He gets more viewers than me, actually. So, So yeah, we have a good time. We play our we do our scrims, and we try to be the best we can be. We've met up like once or twice because I didn't prior to Heroes of the Dorm. I'd never actually met Mist. So we went for some Korean barbecue and met up.
Nice.
Like all the gamers that play HOTS like Korean barbecue.
Dude, Korean barbecue is like a special esports thing. It's like
just gamers in general.
Yeah.
Barbecue.
Well, we have a lot to talk about because we do want to talk about the balance patch tonight. So I want to make sure that we talk about the schedule for Heroes of the Dorm so people can follow along and know where we are right now. So I'm going to take a look here at this schedule for bracket play because we've already gone through the qualifiers and all of that. We're going to be moving into the bracket play. Gilly, you mentioned that you are going to be doing the bracket reveal show on the 19th, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's this Sunday. It's like your typical bracket reveal show. If you watch sports ball things, I don't. But I hear it's going to be similar to that.
Wait, is it Saturday or Sunday?
It is on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh, this coming Sunday. Right. Okay. So the 19th is when bracket play starts. The bracket reveal show.
Yeah, I just pulled up my calendar.
You're right. I was wrong because I was saying the 19th. Because Saturday the 19th, as I'm showing here on my screen, is bracket play starting, but the reveal show is before that this Sunday. That's awesome.
Yes. This Sunday, and then, on the 19th is when the bracket play starts.
Very cool. So, and you just said you can't say too much more about the bracket reveal show for us?
No.
Of course. That's awesome, though. So we'll look forward to watching that. And then on the 19th, bracket play starts, and that's the round of 64. Do you know anything about how that's going to
go? Just casting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I assume we can't cover all of the matches, all 32 of the round of 64 matches, but we'll be casting some matches. And hopefully, I think it's going to be just all out of the same studio. I've seen the studio. It's legit, guys. Like, it's really cool. So be ready to tune in because it's going to blow your mind.
Well, and speaking of casting, you mentioned that, and we did have an announcement of all the casters from Heroes of the Storm. They mentioned Trixler, and KMICJ is not a very telling Twitter handle, but it is Cloakin'. And then Gillyweed and Solid Jake. So they've got those four casters. And, one thing I was going to ask you, Gilly, is they mentioned in that tweet that the bracket show is going to be on ESPNU. And then I was looking at the schedule I was just showing you that I believe says Watch ESPN. Are those different or are they the same thing? Do you know?
I think... I don't actually know what Watch. I think Watch ESPN is the or the online stuff.
Right.
Like, it's some sort of like streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And then ESPNU, I still think is a TV channel.
Gotcha. Right. I think that's right.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
But of course, I recommend that you watch the whole thing on Twitch. So just putting that out there.
There you go, buddy.
Putting that out there. But yeah, so bracket play, round of 64 is going to happen. The following day, the round of 32 is going to happen. Then you have to wait a whole week for the round of 16, and then the round of 8. And all of that's going to be completed by the end of March. Because then the round of 4, the Heroic 4, is going to be happening on April 9th and 10th. And that all that's been announced about that is that it is a 2-day live event, and that it's going to be broadcast live on ESPN2. I happen to also know that it will, I think, be on Twitch at some point. Probably not simultaneously. I don't know if that is like... I have no real information, but I just assume. And they haven't announced where yet.
They have not.
Which I know all of you guys are waiting on the edge of your seat to see if you're going to be able to make travel arrangements. I am really excited for that too. So, Huge, knowing that schedule, what do you think is like the most exciting part? What's the scariest part? What are you thinking about it?
The thing we're most worried about is the fact that next week, it actually the start of the Heroes of the Storm bracket actually collides with Enter the Storm playoffs.
Oh.
And so we have to try and schedule around that. It's going to be the same thing as we had at regionals, where we have to play our Heroes of the Dorm games in between our matches. And that was really, really rushed. And so we basically had to, obviously we had to prioritize regionals. And so we were trying to squeeze in games in between. Like, we would get off stage, and then we'd have to play our 2 games and then get back on stage right away. And it was really hectic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I remember us just, trying to end this game as fast as possible just so we can so we can make it in time.
I'm interested in, because you said obviously we had to prioritize regionals, and that makes sense to me in terms of being a pro team. But I'm interested for people like yourself who are competing in both tournaments where, Heroes of the Dorm is really important as well. How did you decide that that was the priority?
Well, we're physically at the event, and it's just, if we don't go on the stage, we're going to just, we're going to forfeit that match, and it's bad for everyone. It looks bad for everyone, so we're not going to do that.
Right.
And here's the Dorm. There's still a losers bracket. We can forfeit the game and just come back and play the losers bracket. Obviously that that kind of sucks for everyone else that we end up having to play, but it's one of those things that could happen. And so obviously Blizzard did their job to try to work around it, and we did our best, and we kind of worked it around our schedule. We played our games a little bit earlier for Heroes of the Dorm, and then they tried to schedule the games around the dorm times for specifically us and Panda Global.
Yeah, because there were other teams who were having to do double duty too.
Yeah.
But still, that's really hard that you could not take the break that really is needed to kind of decompress after matches like that.
It was kind of unfortunate, but it worked out. It worked out okay, I think. I think it kept us warmed up for the actual games.
Yeah.
We were able to kind of, still pull it out. It was good.
Well, guys, if you want to check out brackets of what has already happened, the best place to do that, it looks like, is on TESPA's website, compete.tespa.org. And I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat for you guys as well. If you want to check that out, you can follow along with the brackets there. Gilly, do you know, is there any other good place to do that? Is that the best place?
I think that plus heroesofthedorm.com is probably going to be your best place for information about the tournament. Heroesofthedorm.com is really good because it has all of the dates for everything and the places where you can watch everything. So that's going to be a good resource for you because there's going to be a month full of awesome dorm matches coming up.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I mean, we have a patch to talk about this week as well, so shall we move on to chatting about that?
Let's do it.
So that concludes our community session for the day. Now let's move on to talking about the game. We did have a balance update. I noticed, interestingly enough, that they're specifically calling them balance updates now, which I think is apropos because these are happening much quicker than you would think a traditional patch would happen. And this patch was mostly hero updates, just trying to balance these heroes. So we have all of the heroes in our outline. I don't know if we want to go through and talk about each one specifically. Do you guys have favorites you want to point out? What do you think?
I can, point out a couple of my favorites if you
Sure.
want to do that and just talk about. Well, I'm
There were a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were. Why don't you go first, Yuj, and tell us about your favorites, and then I'll kind of fill in anything that you don't have. How's that sound?
Favorites or like the biggest points of interest. If you think something is like, oh no, that as well.
Yep. So there are a lot of actual changes. For specifically, I'll just go from the top here.
Sure.
Okay.
So Falstad, they changed him. I think Blizzard really wanted to go change towards a mage type Falstad where you poke from a long distance and you're able to do lots of damage instead of his standard power throw auto attack build that was built up with secret power. And so they were trying to change that up, and I think it actually built a lot of talent variety for him because now he actually has a lot of options. Because from what I've seen, you can do a lot of damage with the new build that you can build on Falstad. So it's interesting.
Nice.
I'm really excited for that one.
I'm curious to see like what most teams do for it, and then if they actually opt for that. Personally, I still think the other build is better, but this build does have a place.
Yeah, I'm happy that this is the way they went about it. Like they didn't like nerf that auto attack build, because when they sent out the thing that was like balance changes are coming, Falstad has quite a bit of updates, I was like, no, because I'm really happy that Falstad has been in so much, and so I got pretty concerned. So I love that instead it's like we want to see these other talents, we want to see that there's the potential for other builds, but we also don't want them to just go away. So I really like the way they're headed with this hero.
Yeah, because I think his auto attack build is more like it's pretty balanced right now, so it's not like it wasn't a huge thing in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and in the developer comments, they said the same thing, Gilly. Like, we're very happy with Falstad's current place in the game.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a pretty common trend throughout this balance update that they're like, we want there to be lots of variety for each hero. We really don't want there to be a, like, this is a normal build for this thing. It seems like they want us to stop saying, like, a typical build for Falstad. They want to see people making use of all of them, which is exciting. And actually, similarly, moving on to Greymane, they did nerf the Gilnean cocktail build just to encourage some variety. And that's a pretty small basic change there. Less changes than with Falstad.
Yeah, they just kind of moved the numbers around so that he still does this. He does about the same damage if you're going to, go all in on someone. But they just changed it so that they moved it from poke into actual damage.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up like burst damage. Similarly, like they did the same thing with Karazim. They tried to like up his build variety by moving his healing from a talent into the base stats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of they're trying to move the numbers around to compensate.
I wanted to know what you thought about how you felt about the Karazim changes, since we see you play him a fair amount.
Personally, I don't think it's actually going to change him that much. It's going to make him a better early game, but like the reason you take the Echo of Heaven is not just for the healing. You also need it for the level 16 talents, because you get to apply them twice.
Right.
So if you want to take those, like, I forgot what they're called. I play Karazim a lot, but I just don't remember.
So I think you're talking about Circle of Life and Soothing Breathe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Circle of Life and Soothing Breathe. Like, they apply those passives twice if you actually, take Echo of Heaven. So it's really important to have that effect. Even though, like, the healing isn't there, you need that. You need it to get the maximum value.
So do you think it's still just as...
So personally, I don't think there's much change. I think his build is going to be the same. He's just slightly stronger early game because he just has slightly higher numbers now.
Okay. I didn't know if maybe they were trying to make it so that it wasn't like such a detriment to have to take cleanse on him.
I think that was their goal, but at the same time, you're still probably not going to take cleanse.
Okay.
And that's my opinion though. Like, so people have different approaches to it for sure. That said, he does have a better chance for going like damage builds now, but I'm not a huge fan of the damage Karazim build.
You're not about that?
I'm not about that. I know Cladius loves it, but I'm not a big fan of it.
Cladius also played damage Rhaegar, so who knows?
He takes all these heroes and turns them to damage.
Well, speaking of damage, let's really quickly finish out the assassins, actually, because Li Ming and Vala both got some big changes. I thought it was interesting. Vala specifically caught my eye because they were saying they wanted the difficulty of her build to correspond with the effectiveness. So they didn't want the easiest build to also be the most effective, which is something I hadn't thought about before, but totally makes sense.
Makes sense. I think, personally, from what I think, like Vala's very, very important, I guess, in the Chinese meta, from what I heard, and that might have affected like Blizzard's approach to it because Vala's been used a lot there, and just the multi shot was just really easy to use, and so they just lowered that damage.
Yeah.
I think it's good. And then Li Ming, they were able to actually reduce the biggest problem that everyone had concerns about.
I assume you're saying magic missiles now dealing 50% damage against structures?
Pretty much, because people were getting upset that she was able to take those buildings so easily.
Yeah, their sieging was pretty nuts.
It was pretty nuts. It's a lot better now. It's still, it's still there, but it's not a huge problem as much as it was before.
Absolutely.
I'm happy with that change. I think she's in a good spot right now. Like, she's not completely overpowered. She's still strong, but she's not game breaking or anything.
I like the developer comment about the temporal flux. So amount reduced from 60 to 40 because that was brutal.
Oh man, the 60% slow is huge, and I think 40% is a good number. It's still a slow, but it doesn't feel like you're not moving.
Yeah. They put, as for temporal flux, ... Well, let's just say we were so in love with Li Ming's overwhelmingly powerful level 20 talents that we misjudged how demoralizing a 60% slow could be to play against when its cooldown constantly resets. Beautifully worded, Blizzard. Your developer comments continue to amaze me.
Dude, my favorite developer comments, skipping around a little bit and going now to specialists. Abathur comments are always the funniest. It's extremely difficult bartering with a space slug. Abathur refuses to allow us to not nerf, devolve him without also not buffing, evolving him. In exchange for lowering the overbearing slow amount and duration of Vile Nest, he has gladly accepted a baseline increase to his carapace shielding. I don't know why they talk about him as though he's a real person, but I love it.
He is. It's because he is.
It's pretty entertaining. I really enjoy like the changes they made to him, honestly. I agree that like the whole Nest build was really obnoxious to play against, which is also why we played it so much, because we like being annoying. So having that reducing the slow and the duration it's going to impact him a little, but it won't be too much in the sense that he can still do what he needs to be done. And then it is kind of compensated by moving it so that his hat build is a little stronger. You get the variance in builds now. You kind of vary it a little more.
We have a question in chat that says, Pensive Goat, that says, will Abathur see much competitive play without slow mines? You guys have a very good Abathur player on your team. Have you gotten Jason's thoughts about how Abathur
it will not change anything.
There you go.
I'm just saying it's not going to change anything. It's still going to be obnoxious. The slow isn't going to be annoying, but it's still going to do the same effect that it did before. It's doing the same thing. It's just not as bad.
Right. I mean, you're still going to get probably ragey, but maybe you'll just be slightly less ragey when you run into the third slow mine in a row.
Maybe a tiny bit.
Because, good Abathurs, they're just going to put them all in a row so you can't rotate properly, so. And then, you have, like, it's just, it really didn't affect anything.
That's good to hear. I like watching some fun Abathur players, like Jason. So we've got Zagara as well. Anna, were you sad to hear about this? I know you love your Zerg ladies.
I wouldn't say I was sad, because considering that she was like such a huge point of contention in drafts, I kind of, whenever you see a hero being completely picked all the time, you expect some nerfs coming up. And I think these were thoughtfully done. I was really, the Maw one, when I was reading it, they did actually, they increased the cooldown from 100 to 120 seconds, which is pretty significant. When I read that, I was doing the like, face, the like, why? But their rationale is really sound. So I think I never thought Zagara was like super overpowered or anything. It just does bring her back down from the like always pick to where she should be, which is when she's useful, she's really useful. You know what I mean? Did you guys think similarly?
Personally, we've messed around with Zagara a bit in scrims, and it's kind of changed from. You know how everyone used to take endless creep at 7? It's kind of changed to taking battle momentum to compensate for
Yes.
the cooldown. And that's really all that has changed with her. I think the Hydras, they were dying anyways. If people were focusing them, they were dying anyways. So
Yeah.
they really don't. It really didn't change anything for her.
Yeah.
It just maybe a little bit slightly less dominant early game, but it's still pretty much the same. I know we had it play. We played it, and Jason pretty much told me, yeah, I didn't feel any difference.
Well, good. That
So,
that makes me
she's
happy.
not really going anywhere.
She's my
Yeah.
lady.
She's still going to be, highly prioritized. People are going to want to pick her up.
Good.
So there are people talking about how Zagara does have battle momentum, and I mean, it seems like the trend has been heading toward battle momentum for her anyway. Like the creep build is mainly just prioritized on maps where vision just totally is a game changer, at least in my opinion. And then rapid incubation is pretty niche. So it seems like it was kind of headed toward battle momentum anyway. Glorp is saying that it now forces you into battle momentum. Do you agree with this?
I would disagree because, let's put it this way. The cooldown on Zagara's Maw is the same as ETC's Mosh Pit. So,
Okay.
you're going to... It really... 20 seconds is not that long if you're going to fight. And with the way you play Zagara, you shouldn't be looking to completely start a fight right off the bat. Like, you want to poke for a bit, and then you want to fight. So, she's not actually going to change that much. It's just going to be, hey, I don't have this on cooldown. We can change a playstyle a little. I have this on cooldown a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just change my playstyle a little for a short period of time. It's not going to actually affect anything, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because
and
you
it is
still have to wait for everyone's cooldowns. Like, that's team fighting. So
right, and it's so game changing that I mean you really have to consider, like, Void Prison is a super long cooldown as well, because these are really game changing heroic abilities to be able to completely take out several people from the fight for a few seconds while the rest are left there, and you all of a sudden can create like a 5v2 situation. So Maw's cooldown, oh yeah, it's 120 seconds now. Now we talked about Karazim, but we have yet to talk about Artanis, and our chat has been begging us to get to this.
So
Cladius
many
is also in
changes.
chat. Yeah.
Look at that.
Has Cladius shared with you his thoughts on the new and maybe improved Artanis use?
So he's kind of gone through it a little bit, but he's still working out like what the most optimal build is. He's still testing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not quite, he hasn't quite got it down yet, but he's definitely an improvement from before. Like he's a lot tankier than he used to be,
Mm-hmm.
but he does less damage. Mainly because they kind of hit his triple strike. Triple
Yeah.
strike. And that, I personally don't feel like that was necessary. Because you're still keeping the point of Artanis the same. You're like, you try to get 13, 16, and then Artanis starts becoming like an unstoppable force. You can't really do anything to him. He's even tankier now. He's in there. He's fighting.
Yeah.
But he can't really get out. So once he's in there, he's fighting.
We in there.
Yeah. So they made him tankier, which is great, but. It kind of changed his place in the meta. I know a lot of teams have been trying him out as like a solo warrior, or there's a lot you can do with him now. I think he is kind of better now than before, in the sense that they just generally made him able to be a warrior rather than same place as Sonya, where they're like melee assassins really. Instead of actual tanks.
Do you think we will see him as a solo warrior? Or do you think we'll still see him in those dual warrior compositions?
I think you'll see him in in Dual Warrior still mostly
Okay.
though. Like I've as a solo warrior, I've seen it like a lot in Hero League, just because people are like, oh, warrior, let's pick it, and
Right.
it's it's okay. It's not terrible. I'll put it that way. It's not terrible. So I think he's in a good place. Like they could just kind of like nudge him. What I'm worried about is if they nudge him too much in like damage, he's gonna become broken, and he's
Yeah.
just gonna become too strong. So he's he's getting there. He's getting there. He's not quite though.
And I like that they put in the developers' comments, we'll continue to monitor Artanis after this first round of buffs. If necessary, a few more changes may charge into the Nexus at a later date. Charge!
I totally missed that until you just said that. I skimmed it and
I
didn't
did
see
not catch
that.
that at all.
That's really funny.
Charge into the
They're
Nexus.
so cute. Look at them. Well, chat has been talking about, is Artanis the new Sonya? So let's talk about Sonya. Only one change here, just cooldown increased on Wrath of the Berserker from 45 to 60 seconds. What do you guys think of this change?
Well, it's a cooldown increase. I mean, it's going to. I don't honestly think it's going to change too much about Sonya. She's just been constantly getting nerfed, and it's just. Well, it's just kind of. At this point, she's still strong, but she's slowly like falling out because eventually those nerfs are all gonna like affect her overall,
Yeah.
and it's going to cause effect. I don't really think it's going to make much of a difference for those teams that actually play Sonya, because there aren't actually that many teams in North America that play Sonya a lot. But it could have. I think it would have probably a bigger impact in like Korea. And there was a period of time where they like really played Sonya a lot. Obviously, she's nerfed. She's not as good now, but I think it's okay. She's
Yeah.
just I have really nothing to say too much about it.
Yeah.
I mean, because this is a heroic that you can keep the buff up as long as you are continually generating fury, it makes sense that, like they said, much of the skill involved in using Wrath of the Berserker is keeping the buff up as long as possible. So like if you're able to keep that up for a long time, then it like you just had it constantly. And so they're saying that it devalues the skill required to use it effectively. People have been talking about in chat, oh, this is nerfing a not often used hero. Well, that's not the case in all regions. And there are other regions where Sonya is picked like every games. And even toward the end of regionals, we were seeing like her Sonya really pick up steam, even though her Seismic Slam had been nerfed like a couple of patches ago. It's really hard to keep all the balance changes straight once they like really started going into steam after we got back from our cruise, Anna. But I mean, yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on her. I don't want her to go away completely. I would love to have some more leaps because that's like the best sound in the world. So I'm hopeful that maybe we could just have leap more as a result of this. But I doubt that this all of a sudden just makes her like completely not at all be used, like you said.
Well, we are running out of time, but before we conclude our game session, I did want to mention one other thing, and it's in line with the fact that we just gave away a couple Asmo Dunk portraits. We are finally getting the Asmo Dunk skin in the game, one that many of us have fondly hoped might exist at some point in our lives. And I haven't played with him or heard, but Gilly, you were saying that his voice pack is pretty funny, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there was the video that was released, I believe, on Twitter. First of all, I love that they have to tweet just to clarify this is not some kind of mid-March, April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
This is actually happening, really, which, I mean, it makes sense because that's just crazy. But yeah, I believe that the
his little sneakers go on fire.
the video was released.
Yeah, the video is actually up on the screen right now. You can see that he's got a basketball and
Yeah, and if you listen to the video, he's got like sounds that he says.
Yeah.
I think the skin is pretty awesome. It actually coincides with a lot of the like the video that they released for Heroes of the Dorm with
Mhm.
Asmo, on the basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty cool. They finally, getting an Asmo dunk skin. I'm excited. Maybe we'll get to use this skin, because we like playing Asmodan. So maybe one day we'll get to use that skin.
I have one more in-game portrait. So by the end of the show, guys, I'll put that in chat again. So keep your copy pastas ready.
Boom shakalaka. So good, Glor. We did have one question before we moved completely out of talking about balance updates, and this isn't super balance update specific, but Mon Veer wanted to know how Zool has been in competitive. What have you been seeing from Zool, and what are you guys thinking about him, Yuj?
Well, basically, he gets the ban slot. Like,
Oh.
basically, Zul has taken over the ban slot that Li Ming formerly had at this point. So, you basically see him. You're not really going to see him being played. He's like no one's going to actually let him through the draft unless they're really confident in their abilities. And
So what is it about him?
he's very strong in the sense that I guess he's tanky if you know how to play him correctly, and he has so much sustained healing while actually pulling out like a ton of damage. He just does everything really, really well.
Yeah.
And so he's able to, he fits that slot as like a really strong frontliner that can dish out damage and actually kill people by himself. So he's really, you'll see him a lot in like being focused a lot in competitive play.
Well, so maybe you won't see him too much in competitive play if he's being constantly banned. Mon Veer.
Pretty much. You'll see him being focused out and banned at that point.
All right. Well, is that pretty much concluding everything for the balance patch, Anna?
Yes, indeed. So normally during the show at this time we would be moving into our play session where we would have a hero spotlight and show a build from Yuj, and then we would play together. But we haven't really taken feedback from you guys since we started this show, other than like through our hashtag Storm Show. And we got a little bit of feedback about the play session, of improvements that people thought we should make and things like that. So we thought it would be a really good time to take a step back and hear from you guys on what you like about Eye on the Storm in general, and especially about the play session and what we should do with it. So we've created a survey for you guys to take, and I'm going to put the link in chat here. And we would love it if you would open that tab. You don't have to fill it out right now because we know you're still watching the show. We still have our community spotlight to do. But please do fill out that form and share it with any other people you know that do watch Eye on the Storm that might not be here tonight, because we want to get the best feedback we can so that we can make the show the best that it can be for you. Gilly, did you have anything you wanted to add about what you're hoping people will put on the survey?
No, guys, we really do appreciate all that you guys do for us and supporting us, whether it's us at events and sending us tweets and happy messages to keep us super happy and excited and hyped during those events, or even just supporting and watching this show and other shows that we do specifically. We know that there are always things that we can do to improve, and we really want to hear from you guys. So please, if you do have a few minutes to help us out, we would very much appreciate it. We want to make this show worth you spending a significant amount of time on your Thursday evenings to hang out with us. So thank you very much for doing. Looks like already help has been called, but
yep.
Thank you.
I messed it up. I'm gonna fix it right now.
Help.
There's actually, yes, you are absolutely correct. There's a question that should be multi-check that is not. So hold on, I'm going to fix that. Just a second. Because I know you guys want to take it right now.
Yes, but thank you guys very much. We appreciate it, and hopefully we will continue to improve this show so that we can continue to be a really great resource for you to learn more about Heroes of the Storm and make sure that you're keeping up with the community side as well as the competitive side. So with that, there's going to be no play session this week. We are going to forego that so that we can get time to gather your feedback. And as well, there's plenty of time to give the feedback. So if you wanted to take some time to think about it, I believe we are not going to have an episode next week, right, Anna? We're off next week?
Yes, we are off next week.
Right. There's plenty of time should you guys really want to think about how to approach the answers. Or if not, if you're ready to go, we would love to hear back from you right away. But either way, thank you very much for helping us out with that. So that is our play session that we talked about. So we're going to move right into the community spotlight, and I want to start with highlighting the streamers from Team Blaze. So I know you stream Yuujers, so why don't you let us know a little bit about your stream as well as any streams of your teammates.
So pretty much, I try and stream as much as I can, trying to balance school as well. So whenever I do have the chance to play Hero League, I'll probably stream. And on my stream, I pretty much just talk about, some days I'll be very, casual and just have fun in Hero League and just play random builds that aren't necessarily the best. Just have a good time. And other days I'll be extremely instructive. Obviously, when there's sometimes like this overlap between the two where you see me kind of not playing very seriously, and then I'll bring up like, hey, this is what you should be doing at this point in the game because this, it's just general knowledge throughout the game that I will randomly throw out. And I try to keep it as entertaining as possible. Try to interact with the chat as much as I can. Kind of a lot easier to do since I got my second monitor, but
Yeah.
it's better now. And I'm still kind of struggling with the production quality because I always forget to change the scenes when I go in between games, and it's just I'm getting there.
Usually if it makes you feel any better, I still forget to do that, and I've been streaming for like 3 years.
It is rough.
Yeah, I actually have like a notification system that plays the bump and up if I forget.
Oh, okay.
Remind me. So,
Cool.
so what about, I believe, B-Kid and Big Impact? What about their streams?
So B-Kid, he streams a lot. He likes streaming. I personally like watching B-Kid stream. I think B-Kid is a really funny guy, and
I think most people like watching his stream.
I watch him because he has those best catchphrases. He's like bang bang, and then you just have a bunch of, you hear him sing. You'll randomly see him sing on the stream, and it's really entertaining. Personally, I really enjoy it. And for Big Impact is starting to stream more. Like before, he had some issues like getting it set up, and now we've got that sorted out. So Big Impact is, he's one of those more informative streamers, I'd say. He'll show you his play, and he'll try and explain it as much as he can to like discuss it with his viewers. It is really hard to play well though when you're streaming because you have to divide your attention outside of the game. It's rough.
Yeah, it's true. When I'm doing like my hardcore days, sometimes I'm just like, guys, save all your questions for the long, like the time for queue time, so that while I'm waiting in queue, I can answer questions then. Because it is really tough. I agree.
Yeah.
Then we also wanted to highlight that a blog post came out today about the Heroes of the Storm 2016 Spring Global Championship. It has the event details, so how the bracket is going to actually break down, and it features a double group stage, actually, which is pretty interesting. And then it has the prize pool, the matches, where to watch, and then also gives the location. We knew it was going to be in Seoul, South Korea, but it gives the actual location of where it will be in Seoul. So pretty cool, exciting that we're less than a month away from our first global championship already.
I know. I kind of need to buy like a ticket to Korea. I've still never been, and I really want to go.
I kind of need to buy.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
I'm really excited for the World Championships.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to watch the play, and I really actually like how they did the groups, because they have the weaker regions play in the group stages. They have the weaker regions play the second seeds from the stronger regions like Korea, China, Europe, North America. They have all the weaker regions in that group, so that you can that you can have quality games. Like it's going to be the best possible matchup of games that you can see, and it builds up hype for the actual event. And so it also gave, like, they announced that, hey, getting first seed actually matters. You don't have to play this group stage.
Yeah, it's a lot of games too where you can kind of gauge your opponents that'll be coming in as well. It's not just like one game; it's several, because of how the groups are going to go. So I'm really excited for it too. I think I'm ready to see all of the different regions. We talked a lot about NA here, a little bit about EU, and then obviously China and Korea, but then all of the other regions that we're going to get to have as well. It's going to be really fun. It'll be our first global championship that has 12 teams instead of 8.
That's awesome.
Pretty pumped about that. Anna, any final thoughts about the global championship, other than as you're purchasing your airplane ticket to Korea?
I just think it's really cool that it's there. I mean, I've already said that. And honestly, I am frantically fixing our survey at the same time as hosting the show right now. So thank you to all of you guys. This is why we need your feedback, because you help me realize when I ask you to fill out something that was not correctly made. So it's almost ready, and I will repost the link for you guys in chat. And then also, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening, the link will be both on Misscliks Twitter as well as hopefully in the description of this YouTube video. So you can look for it there, and we would love your feedback as well, because this isn't just for live viewers. I'm derailing from what you just asked me, but there you go.
That's all right. Thank you. I'm sorry to distract. We'll move into shout outs for Yuujers. Yuujers, where can people find you on social media? And you give your Twitch, but if you want to give that again, that's great too. And then any shout outs that you want to give.
Personally, I just like, you can see my Twitter up above at Yuujers, and then, once again, the Twitch, Yuujlol. Shout outs to, Team Blaze, especially Patrick, who's Shadow Smile. He's really, like, helped get the team to where it is today. And then, that's really it. And big shout out to all of the guys that watch my stream and help me get better at the game, because for me, being able to teach people how to play the game, or just like in general and interact with people, it helps me understand the game better itself. And so
that's awesome.
Shout out to them.
Well, I would love to give a shout out to our awesome chat. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for everyone for bearing with me with a solo monitor and this lovely lighting, so epic hotel lighting. But thank you as well to the people who watch my stream for understanding why I am not doing my normal stream schedule. But it's for a great reason, and you guys are going to be really impressed with everything that is going on with Dorm, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. You guys can follow me and my adventures, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all Gillyweed SC2. And I actually got a question that Eiffels is demanding that I answer, and that is, I need to know what sweet flavor Gilly thinks best personifies Brightwing, and that has got to be cotton candy ice cream. Like that blue, like bubblegummy almost ice cream.
I can see that. I can see that.
I was gonna say funfetti frosting.
Yes, that would be just as good. Just something that's got a ton of colors in it. And if Yuj agrees, I mean, Yuj plays Brightwing, so.
I agree.
I mean, I play Brightwing, but not quite as well.
Brightwing's a lot of fun. He's a very different support hero than all the other ones.
I agree. All right, Anna, shout outs for you.
I am typing a code for you right now. I think that's a code. There you go. You guys are very demanding, but I like it. That's the last Asmodunk in-game portrait for now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for dealing with our different format tonight with no play session. We appreciate your guys' support. If you want to hang out with me, the best way to do that is follow me on Twitter. You can also find me at Anna Prosser there and almost everywhere else, including annaprosser.com. My next upcoming things are that on tomorrow midday at 1 o'clock, I'm going to be doing Twitch Weekly, which is always a really good time where we talk about what's going to be coming up on Twitch in the coming week. And then on Tuesday, I have my new Wizards of the Coast official Dungeons & Dragons show on their channel, followed directly by Misscliks D&D on our channel. So that's going to be a lot of role-playing for me on Tuesday, so I hope you'll come hang out with me there. And of course, don't forget to follow Misscliks, because you can now watch shows 6 days a week on Misscliks, and you can be up to date on what they're doing.
Yes, follow Misscliks, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, Misscliks. You can find all of our past episodes of this show on YouTube as well. There's a playlist for that. And finally, if you want to watch the Heroes of the Dorm Championship Bracket Reveal show on ESPNU, that will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPNU. I just said that. My throws are awesome.
Yeah. Thank you guys. It's such a pleasure to always hang out with you. Again, we will not have a show next week as I will be at South by Southwest and Gilly will be traveling and indisposed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, indisposed. But we'll be back the following week and hopefully have lots of feedback from your survey responses. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again. And thank you so much to you, Yuj.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. I actually really enjoyed being on the show.
Good. I'm really glad. Viewers, please go give Yuj some love on Twitter and all the other social places, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.